Calm down, Granny. I thought for sure she'd be crying by now. As hungry as she was.
I'm with my great granny. And she loves me.
Yeah, I thought for sure she'd be screaming because she's hungry.
Oh. I know where I am. Yes, I am sort of hungry though, Mama. Oh, goodness. Where's my bottle? Where's my... Oh.
Yeah, she likes to fool around with her mouth
Precious
there.
thing that it ever was.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how precious. Till they got one in their arms, and she is so darling. I was telling Senior Citizen, we were asking, was the happiest moments of our life? I said, well, when they brought my baby and put in my arms. And they said, well, you've been happy a lot of times, haven't you?
Yeah, they like to have killed me when she was born because I didn't get to hold her for 45 minutes while they were stitching me up.
Yeah.
And Ty was carrying her around and showing her off to everybody. They walked out of the room and I was just like, where'd my baby go?
I didn't let anybody else hold her, though, until Mama got a chance.
No, he was good about that.
She is darling. I bet that Bud and Helen is
Oh, they're proud.
proud.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think they've taken 5 or 6 dozen rolls of film, and they got stacks of pictures.
Yeah.
She's just sleeping now.
Yeah.
She's good.
Well, she ate about 2.5 or 3 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to start getting hungry here soon, probably. Although she goes for 5 hours sometimes.
She was kind of fussy when we were leaving up in Emory, and I thought that she was going to be time. It was going to be time for her.
Goodness. Could I sleep?
Hmm.
Yes. She started to open her eyes and then she doesn't.
She dreams a lot. She'll smile a lot for you, too.
Mm-hmm.
That little hat has got her hair all crazy looking there.
See, that's all right. I just want that coal black hair. Margaret, when she was born, she had coal black hair.
Did she?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'd say that looks like that could be Mom's granddaughter.
Yeah.
She fits her.
Oh, goodness. Where is darling? It's lovely. Yes. People just bother me when I want to sleep. That little jacket, now, that's not something.
That's her first little pair of tights that she's got on there too. Today's the first I ever had her in those little things.
Oh, darling. Oh, yes. She's so pretty.
We're pretty pleased.
I know you are. You're bound to be pleased.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think she takes after her daddy very much.
You don't?
There are a lot of things that look like Daddy, just not her color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not her color, and that's for sure.
Wait till she grows up a little bit,
Yeah.
and she'll start looking like Daddy. And following Daddy everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll make him take me everywhere. The little precious innocent. He has the prettiest little hand.
Her little fingers and toes are so long.
Yeah,
She gets that from Daddy.
Does she?
Mm-hmm.
she's got little piano playing fingers there.
Where'd you get a little thing like that? That is darling.
That dress, it was her cousin's.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We've been lucky. We've had a lot of girls come through the family already, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
clothes that
You
got
like
handed
clothes,
down.
handed down. Oh. Yes, I am. Well, she has that black hair, doesn't she?
Yeah, I had black hair when I was born too. It's that Cherokee. Got some of that Cherokee from you and
Yeah.
it's my side. Yeah.
I used to, when I was a teenager, I had long black curly hair. And my hair was curly until I'm married and got a permanent, and then it was curly no more.
Yeah, mine straightens up when I got a perm once and it got
Yeah.
straight, and it's kind of been halfway straight since
Yeah.
then. Not real.
Oh, she's so dark. Yes, you are. You're just precious as you can be.
She was a big thing, Granny. 9 pounds and 12 ounces.
What does Grandma think about her?
Oh, she was pleased as punch.
What does Eloise think about her?
Eloise got a chance to hold her at the hospital.
She did.
Yeah, I think she liked that quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd say she did.
And Mom just can't get enough of her.
Oh, I don't guess she can. See, there's something wrong with somebody who can't get enough of me. Yeah, there's something wrong with him.
She sure does look comfy there.
Mm-hmm.
Say, oh, goodness, I'm sort of sleepy.
She just knows when people love her.
She knows it.
You've had some experience holding little babies like that too, haven't you? You've had some experience holding little babies like
yes,
that.
I have. As I say, I said to the hospital, the happiest day of my life when they bring them and put them in my arms, you know. And a woman said, you've had a lot of happy days, haven't you? I said, yes. Thankful for every one of them.
Well, let's see. How many grandchildren do you have too?
18 grandchildren.
18 grandchildren. How many great grandchildren do you
I
have?
think last time I counted them, I think I've accumulated since. Last time I counted them, I think I had 12 great grandchildren. But I said, Lord, I was getting greater every day.
You don't have any great yet, do you?
Yes, I do. I have 2 great.
Who's?
And that's Junior, Peggy's son, and his daughter has 2 children.
Oh, okay.
So they would be great grandchildren.
Wow.
That's
Man.
amazing.
That is
I'd
amazing.
like to have one of each, you know, and have to put in a paper for the, you know, the great grandchildren starting at the first one on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I have 2 great grandchildren. None of my greater you do. You're just the greatest. Oh, yes, you are. You're just the greatest.
She yawning or smiling?
She's young.
Is she? I hope you get to see her little smile. It's awfully cute.
Wanted to kiss your little hand. Yes, I did. Oh, darling, you're precious. But you know, when I hold a little baby, I can imagine years ago when I was holding mine, you know.
Mhm.
They're just always so precious.
And they
And
grow
you-
up too
I
fast.
just don't understand. You hear people killing babies. I just think they couldn't get punished enough.
Mhm.
Anybody mistreat a little darling thing like they're so, I could just love them to death.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they just look at you, and you're everything to them, you know. I mean,
Mhm.
they so dependent and sweet. And
Oh, that little sweet, precious hand. She's just perfect in every way, isn't she?
Yep.
So be thankful for her.
Oh, I am.
I'm a little biased because I'm her daddy, but I think she's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Mommy does too.
I
I
said,
couldn't ask for any more. I mean, I really couldn't.
no, you couldn't. You've got so much to be thankful for her.
I do.
These are precious things.
I think she's gonna fit in good with Linda and Amber. The way they're all colored up real dark, don't you think?
Yeah.
She looks like kin of theirs.
Have you gotten any pictures of her yet, Granny?
No, honey, I don't.
Oh, we need to.
I haven't got a single picture of her.
We've got some out in the car. We need to see what we can do for you, so you can be showing her off for us.
We want you to show her off.
Yeah. I cut her cord and got her all. Except, of course, I had towels and everything ready, you know. my grandmother, of course, was there. She was a regular doctor, midwife. She had license to deliver babies.
Did you have all yours at home?
Oh no, that's almost two I had at home. The rest of them I had in the hospital.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Were they all smaller, or were they all bigger, or
They run from 7 to 8 pounds.
so about right?
That one, the first one, the 10 pound, he was the one that passed away. Of course, I had pneumonia, and he weighed 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, and you talk about having that time. I did with a midwife, for him being so large.
Yeah.
And but I had pneumonia, and he took pneumonia. He didn't make it. It was just 3 days of it. But he was, in a year's time, Betty was born. That's why that close together, and her being so little, well, she was born before the doctor got there.
Yeah. Was she pretty healthy? Even though she's so small, was she pretty healthy?
Yeah, oh yeah, she's always been healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to keep her on a pillow. She was so tiny. She weighed 4 pounds.
I can't imagine. She's been so big, it's almost like having a 1 or 2 month old.
I know it.
The little bitty ones, I get scared to.
Yeah.
They get
Well, I was almost, I was young, and of course I knew I had to take care of her,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kept her on a pillow, and I slept with her, and I also had a place fixed on the side of the bed, where I wouldn't, I could put her on the pillow, and I would, of course, I didn't sleep much, when you're so little and sick, you always think about her. When she'd move, I'd know it, and get her on my arm, get her to eat, so I can keep her quiet. But I raised every one of my own. Preston, Betty, Helen, I had to put, when she's 6 months old, I had to put her on the bottom. I said it was like the old cow gone dry.
When did they even start having bottles? I mean, there's a long time there where you didn't have a choice. Everybody
Yeah, I know.
breastfed.
Yeah, and we breastfed. I did all mine. And that's the only one. My grandmother said, well, you're like an old cow, you're going dry, you have to put her on the bottle. And I did. I guess she's on the bottle about 6 months. I didn't give it to her all the time, but during the day, I would give her the bottle. And, but I nursed her, she's over a year old. That's the fun part of it, when you have to wean them. Breast.
Yeah, but
Granny, you have got her crashed out. You've got her crashed out. I thought for sure she'd be fussing by now.
See, I know my great-grand has me, and I'm satisfied.
But what was it like growing up with having all those kids when I can't imagine. With one of them, I'm so tired all the time, I cannot imagine having 8 of them.
Lord have mercy, I raised my children. One year, the baby one, I forget which one was the baby that year. And I picked enough wild strawberries to make 50 pints of strawberry preserves.
Oh my gosh.
Good night, Granny. 50 pints.
50 pints. And I picked most of them when I was pregnant before she was born. I'd go had a big old bulldog, and we named him Rusty. And I'd take him with me, and he'd go in front of me, and if there's snakes or anything, he'd run away. And I could always depend on Rusty. I'd say, come on, Rusty, let's go pick some strawberries. And he just like he knew what I said. He'd follow me. He'd always go in front of me, and he'd go sniffing around. And I feel safe to go pick those strawberries because he'd run everything away. But after we moved down on the highway, and he got killed with the car.
Oh.
He was just like one of the family, Rusty.
How old was Betty when Helen was born?
Betty was 20 years old.
So I guess the older ones got to help out quite a bit.
Oh yeah, they were good to help, Yeah. But I'll tell you what's the truth. Their daddy, of course, he was a lot older than me. He was a happy. When, I guess it was when, let's see which one it was. Don't remember which one it was. But after just the 2 so I had them in the hospital. And back then, the ambulance had to bring you home and put you in bed, and you had to stay in bed 9 days.
Wow.
So we lived over in the country, and there's a creek in between the house and the road.
Mm-hmm.
So that ambulance, they'd bring me home. But of course, it happened about every 2 years, or every year, or every 2 years, the ambulance had to bring me home. So one time, I don't remember which one it was born, and my husband, he was a big cut-up anyway. So the ambulance driver was taking me in, and he was out looking, and he went around and looked at the ambulance, and he sort of took his foot and kicked the wheels on it, and the ambulance driver didn't know what to think of it, you know. They said, "Mr. Hopkins, is there something wrong?" He said, "No, not really." He said, "I have to use them so often, I decided maybe it'd be cheaper to buy one." You should know. You would love him. I tell you his character.
He sounds like a cutout.
Yeah, he was.
He sounds like he was a neat man.
Yeah, he was. He was a good man.
Good, strong, hard-working.
Yeah, worked hard and loved his children, Lord, better than anything in the world. He had a one little fault making, but he was the most precious man to me and the children when he was sober. But when he got drunk, he'd take his fight out on me. I had to go in the room and lock the doors.
Mm.
Every kid he had belonged to somebody else when he'd get drunk. I used to tell him about it. He'd get sober and I'd tell him. He said, "Mom, I tell y'all what I want you to do. You know I wouldn't, if I was in my right mind, I'd never say anything bad about you or anything like that, because I love my children and I know they're all mine." Said, "I wish you'd take a rope, tie me up, and get something and beat me till I couldn't move." Said, "I want you to do that." He'd just go wild when he got drunk.
Mm.
But other than that, Lord, he loved his family better than anything. But get out of his way when he was drunk.
How was it with all those girls? Having all those girls right in a row?
I know all of them. My first baby, the one I was telling you about, he was a boy.
Mm.
He's John Sanders, named after his daddy. But he just lived 3 or 4 days yet.
I bet you had trouble coming up with names after 4 or 5 of them girls.
Yeah.
Really? I don't know what in the world we'd do.
See, Betty, Patsy, we call her Patsy. Her name's Anna May.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Oh, how did you get Patsy then?
Well, I bought her a doll book, and the doll was named Patsy. She carried that when she was 2 years old, and she carried that book around her, and she slept with it. She said, "Hi, Patsy. Hi, Patsy. Hi, Patsy." Everybody got to call her Patsy,
Huh.
and she goes with that name yet.
I didn't have any idea.
She named herself Patsy
Oh, we
because
know.
that doll book was named Patsy, and she loved that doll book. It had a great big picture of the doll on the outside, and she carried that book around with her. He said, "Hi, Patsy. Hi, Patsy."
So what's her real name again now?
Anna May.
Anna May.
Anna May. And she named herself Patsy when she's 2 years old. And she still goes with the name Patsy.
Now, who was Betty named after? What's her full name?
Betty is named Page, Betty Page. The Page was named after Mame, you know who had
John's
his name?
sister.
Yeah, she was a nurse. And she used to nurse this woman, Betty Page, for years, and she died. And I named her after that woman that she stayed with and kept her so long. That's where I got Betty's name. The rest of them I just dug them out of where I
You
got
just made it up.
Oh.
Well, are there any other ones that are named something different than what we call them? I have a hard time keeping straight of.
No, I
See
know.
Betty and Patsy. Let's see, now Margaret, I named her Mo.
Mo out. Yeah.
Remember that,
Yeah.
Mo? How come he named her Mo? You know the Three Stooges? The Three Stooges. And Mo had coal black hair. And I had her hair cut with bangs.
Oh no.
And it come down, and she did exactly like the Stooges. And I named we got to call them her Mo.
I had no
Well,
idea.
after the Stooges, Three Stooges. That's who she named after.
See, I had no idea that you'd started that. I thought that was something that
No,
Helen had started or something.
Yeah, I didn't know where that had come from.
Well, because I said some of them had her hair cut just exactly like that Stooge. And her bangs, and her coal black, and he had coal black hair with bangs. And we got to call her Mo.
I figured it had something to do with her name being Margaret and someone couldn't say it right. Or
No,
they just,
I named her after the Three Stooges. Because her hair cut black, and he had coal black hair, and he had his hair cut, you know, exactly. And I said, you look like the Stooges to Mo. And then everybody started calling him Mo.
or which one out of all of them was the most rambunctious?
Well, really, I don't know. I guess Jim was.
You know, if I'd have had
Well,
to
all right.
guess-
Besides Jimmy, yeah, we could have figured Jimmy.
Yeah. Sally.
Sally.
I-
Yeah.
Oh,
That's fine.
Sally was around her. We lived over in the country, and as I said, there's a creek run between our house and the road. She'd go out there and get snakes out of the creek and run after the kids and put them down the back of their neck. Poor old Margaret was scared to death of it. I worked at the candy factory some, and I was working, and Margaret said, Mom, I'm so glad to see you come home. Sally has run me all day today with a snake. She would catch them and take them and put them with the other kids. She was
Golly.
mean.
Boy, that is mean.
That is me. I didn't
Oh,
hear
her
that.
daddy used to get after her, and she's a big old tree, a pear tree right at the end of the house. And Sally would climb that pear tree and go upstairs and get into the bedroom window through out that pear tree afraid of her daddy.
Mm.
Now he'd really get after her. She'd get snakes and put on them, and she's in something all the time, Sally was. She was always into something. But that's the way she got away from her daddy. She'd go upstairs and climb that pear tree and go in the window upstairs, that big old house we used to live in.
What was Helen like?
Helen, she wasn't, rowdy much, but of course, naturally, I had her spoiled a little bit.
The baby.
Yeah, she was spoiled a little bit, but her daddy, Lord, he thought there's enough in the world. He'd take two of them and leave, and an old rocking chair I've got in the antique in the back room. That old rocking chair we had on the front porch, had a big porch going clear around. And in the summertime, he'd have two of them, he'd rock them to sleep in that old chair. One on each arm.
Don't you wish they had more cameras and stuff back
Oh,
then?
yeah, it'd be wonderful.
Yeah, because I've got pictures of my grandfather rocking my brother to sleep and sitting
Yeah,
there reading the
oh,
paper
yeah.
and smoking a pipe and stuff.
Yeah.
It's-
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story about what my dad pictures I think about this. You know, when Jim was in the year Jim was to graduate from high school, see, the girls liked to go to school, and I didn't have any problem with them. They all finished high school without any problem. Now, Jim was a different story. He didn't like to go to school. And I used to whip him, make him wear short pants. He wanted long pants. He didn't want to show his legs. And he was just in the third grade. But anyway, he finally got him through school, and he was a graduate that year. So he, the year that he graduated, he was 18 years old. And of course, I couldn't do anything about it. And he slipped off and joined the Navy in his junior year,
Mm.
when he just finished high school. He joined the Navy. Yeah. But anyway, a little story about Jim. When he was in high school, I did everything, you know, try to keep him in school because he's the only boy and I wanted him to finish school so bad. And I lived behind the hospital, and I was manager of the snack bar for 25 years at the hospital. And I lived in the parking lot for 12 years at the hospital.
I remember when we'd go down there and see you while you were
Yeah.
there.
So, anyway, yeah, I bought Jim didn't want to stay in school, and the rest of them finished high school, and I wanted him to finish. So I had a good old Chevrolet car I drove all the time. So he said, Mother, let's go down to the Ford place and rest on the cars. Of course, he had in his mind that I was going to buy him the car. It was in his junior year. Well, I did. I got in the car and we went to Ford place in Bristol and had this Ford convertible Mustang, new. He went wild naturally over it, you know. And they did give me a good trade-in on my car on it. So I bought it for him. Ford Mustang convertible.
Now, what year was this? Do you remember what year it was?
The year, I don't remember what year, but it was the year he was supposed to graduate from high school. I used to know, but
Probably
I don't remember him.
67 or so.
Yeah. So I bought that Mustang. When they brought it home, though, this is a story about it. When they brought it home, they didn't have it ready. They had to do some work on it to bring it. Said, we'll bring it later. So anyway, Jim was working at Stuckey's. He worked there when he was out of school and all weekends. He worked at Stuckey's. And so Jim was working when they brought it home. It was on Saturday. So they brought it to me, and I said, you take it down to Stuckey's and give it to Jim. I said, and he can, the boys had been taking him to work, he worked with, and I said, he'll bring it home tonight. So they took it down there and gave it to Jim, you know. And of course, Jim brought it home that night, sometime in the night, I don't know what time. And anyway, in the meantime, my best friend, Miss Tate, lived right down below us, and we lived on the highway. She called me and she said, Miss Hopkins, my car I had put in the garage. Would you come take me to church in the morning? Well, here I had that Mustang. And Jim, when he brought it home, the top was down on it, you know. He didn't put the top up on it. It was new, and I didn't know how to put the top up. So here I got in that car. Back then, everybody wore hats. You know. I got in that car to go after Miss Tate and take her to church, my neighbor. Well, it was my neighbor then. So it started raining.
Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah, Betty and Patsy was coming up. They lived in Bristol, and they were coming up to my house, and I passed them. Here I had that in that car, convertible with the top down and with a hat on, so you can imagine, and it started raining. Well, I was trying to drive that car and hold on to my hat at the same time. I didn't know how to put the top up, you see. I was afraid I'd touch the wrong thing, you know, and I didn't know how to put the top up. So got it down and got Miss Tate, and I got her, and so we met Betty and Patsy coming up. They hadn't been married very long. They was coming up to visit me. And they said they'd give anything in the world if I had a Kodak to take my picture.
Oh, I guarantee.
Me in the car with Miss Tate and that convertible on the top down, trying to hold my hat on and trying to drive. It ain't raining. But anyway, I made it all right. And so they said then, said they'd give anything. And every time anybody mentioned the convertible, I think about that. Convertible sure wasn't no fun. Although I kept it, I was living here when I got rid of it. And I drove it. I never did feel right driving a convertible at my age, you know. But anyway, after Jim went into service, I kept a hat too, 'cause I traded my car in on it, and I couldn't afford another one. I had to keep it. So I kept it for years and drove it. And I say I was living here when I got rid of it. So anyway, I'd take it to work, but I never had the top. I knew how to put the top up for all you know. That's the only time I ever had
I was
that.
gonna say, I bet you learned how to do that real quick.
I did.
Granny, do you care if I get something to drink?
Well, honey, help yourself.
So Jim never did get that car back then?
No, it might have got out of service. But when he got out, you see, I had to pay for it. And I had all the kids in school, and I had to work and pay for that car. And Jim didn't send me one penny on it. First thing he said, and he got off the plane, "Mother, you still got my car?" I said, "No." He said, "Mother, you didn't sell it." I said, "No, I've got my car." I said, "I had to pay for it,
You bought it.
and it's mine." That like to kill me.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it was, I didn't, all the kids said, "You're letting him have it." I said, "Wait and see what I went through to pay for that car, and all the kids in school, and me having to work like I did to pay for it." I said, "No way he'll get it." They wait and see, he'll get it. He'll get it. Boy, he didn't get it. I want you to know he didn't get it. Well, he went out and bought this big old Ford car. He thought he was spiting me. You know, he got money when he got out of service. They give him so much money, you know. And he had the money. And he said, "You gonna give me the car back, aren't you?" I said, "Nope, it's mine." I said, "I paid for it. It's mine. You didn't send me one penny on for 4 years using service." And I had skimp and do every way to pay for it. I couldn't let it go back. And so I kept the car. And I sold it after I moved here. These two guys, I had it sitting out there. And these two guys came along. And they were just young men, you know. They went wild over it. And they knocked on the door and they said, "Lady, would you sell this car?" I said, "Yeah, for enough money I would." He said, "Well, what do you want for it?" And I like $200 getting out of that car what I paid for it.
Golly.
So they were thrilled to death with it. I kept it. I'd had 2 new tops put on it while I had it. Every time a top would start to break or anything, I'd have a new one put on it. And it had a new top on it, and it did look like it was brand new. And these guys, I never did find out who they were. I went to courthouse with them for them to count this.
I don't know if I should wake her up to feed her or not at 6 o'clock.
Honey, did you find anything to drink?
Yeah, I got some grape juice. It was good.
Well, I don't drink nothing but milk and coffee, and I have, of course, that water in there, and Margaret keeps me in water all the time.
Well, you should be drinking that juice in those boxes. That's good. What do you think we should do? Wait, see if she'll make it to Todd and Diane's, or?
She seemed like she's sound asleep.
She'll be starved to death if we wait till then.
I need to probably go ahead and feed her.
Granny?